That's it. Okay, you turn it on and you leave it, and it stays on. Okay, I like this. We have a similar thing when we record in the vocal booths, where I sit on one side of the glass and the actors sit on the other side of the glass, and you when you want to talk to them, you hit the button, and then you tell them something, and then you turn it off, so then you can privately say to the directors, like, "Wow, that was really bad. Let's." And every so often, I forget. Yeah, so there's a few of the voice actors probably have a few issues now with me, but
that's awkward.
Yeah, that's always awkward. I like the one where you just push it and let go, and that's when it's off. But anyway, a side story there. So, how's everybody doing today? Awesome. Well, there's a lot of you here. This is a really big con. Like, I've been to a few cons, but this is like a lot of people. So it's really, really, really exciting.
Great energy in the room too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's amazing cosplays already.
So we thought that what we would do is have Daniel outline a little bit about the process of the songs in the show, and sort of give you an overview of from the beginning of, when he's pitching an idea right through to when it appears in an episode. And then we will do some Q&A and get some questions from the audience.
Yeah, we'll do lots of questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so we'll spend most of the time answering your questions, I think. Mm-hmm. But to begin,
So how do you do it, Daniel?
Yeah, it's magic. It's friendship and magic come together in a beautiful musical harmony.
Well, a lot of people, they see the songs in the final episodes and love the songs, but there's a whole huge process that goes on for over a year before they see the final product. So maybe you can just outline how that works.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, like when I start on a song, from the beginning of the song to the time that you guys get to hear it, sometimes over a year has gone by. So it's always like people will say, well, what's your favorite song? And I'm always thinking, God, which song can I mention? Because there's so many songs that you haven't even heard yet that haven't come out. I think there's in the order of 30-something songs still to be released in the next year and a half. So you can look forward to that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out in season 5 and 6 and Equestria Girls. So yeah, to talk about the process a little bit, just to give you a quick rundown. So the first thing that happens on the show is a script is written, and the very next thing that happens is actually I write the songs if there's a song in that script. So before we even record the voice actors, we'll have a meeting, we'll review the script, and we'll discuss, if the lyrics are even in the script. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And then my job is to go off and write a concept, like a sketch. So I will usually go away and just sit at the piano and record a very simple piano sketch with me singing the song. And I can tell you, if they ever get released, it would be the most embarrassing thing that could ever happen. Is like
you don't give yourself enough credit.
I don't know. You should hear me sing as Fluttershy. It's really. No. I don't even remember. Like, I don't even remember.
No pressure.
Yeah, really. What were we doing? What were we talking about?
Sketch.
How does the Find a Pet song go? Does anyone remember how does that remember? It's 5 years ago. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. This is not going to happen. But I'm glad you did it. Thank you. Yeah, actually, I turned 40 years old a year ago. I'm 41, and at my birthday, my assistant decided, and all the DHX people were at my birthday party, and he decided he would collect all of these piano demos with me singing, and create a compilation, and he played it for everyone in present, and I've been looking for a way to get back at him ever since. So I write that little piano sketch with me singing, and we send it off to Hasbro, and they listen. And it's actually better when it's worse, because I'm singing, because they go, well, I'm sure it'll sound good when the real singer sings it. So sure it'll get better. Once that's approved, then right away we go into the voice records. Usually it's part of the voice records, we'll record a song. And then after that, we start producing the song. And I've got a whole team of people that I work with to do that. So part of the reasons that's sort of special about My Little Pony is, we really put the time in. Like there's a year between the song being written and it coming on TV. So I had a lot of time to really put some love and care into the production. So there's a lot of really good people I work with who are great guitar players and orchestrators and drummers and everything. And we program it all up. And we work together as a team and we make the songs happen that way. And on average, right now we're putting out about 1 to 2 songs a week I'm expected to write. So there's a lot of material between this show and all the other shows. So that's the basic process. Sometimes I have to rewrite the song. Sometimes they don't like it, and it ends up.
What percentage of the time would you say that you have to redo things?
On My Little Pony, I think it happens like 1% of the time. Like it's very rare on this show. They sort of give me a lot of freedom, which is great. I think I've only had to rewrite maybe two songs in the entire series. So somewhere are like alternate versions of songs that you love. So
and you know what a lot of people ask is if when there's more than one singer on the song, like if there's a few characters on it, whether you record those separately or together and how you do that.
So our process for recording the actors is really, I think, a big part of why this show, the songs sound maybe a little slicker than some cartoons that are similar ages, because we really put a lot of time into coaching the actors. So all of the actresses we have on the show and actors, are very good singers, and if they don't feel comfortable singing, we have voice doubles. And they get the song, they practice at home, they have a coach, and then they come in and I'll work with them very closely, and sometimes we'll spend like hours recording their parts. Over and over and over. So, like I said, some of the voice actors get really like, oh no, there's a song. This is going to be a lot of work.
But some of them are like, yay, there's a song.
Yeah, and now I think people now that the songs are really popular, like characters who haven't had songs before, and there's some coming out this year who've never had songs before, it's exciting for them because they're like, okay, great, finally a song for my character. And they work really hard to prepare those. I know one story was with the Flim Flam brothers, Scott McNeil and Sam Vincent. So that first Flim Flam song, when that came out, and I wrote that, it's a very complicated song, it's very fast, and they hadn't really practiced, and the show was like its early days, and they came in and they were like, whoa, this is a lot of work, and they were like, it was torture. Like, we were in the studio for hours and hours recording the Flim Flam brothers song. When the next Flim Flam Brothers song came 2 years later in season 4, they had rehearsed that thing for like 2 weeks straight before we went into the studio. They were like, we're getting this right. So yeah, I think like now that the show's gotten so much momentum, the actors work really hard to prepare, so that makes my life really easy.
I remember when we did the background vocals for Super Speedy Cider Squeezy, and we kept saying Super Speedy Spider Squeezy.
Spider Squeezy.
I think we had to redo that one many, many times, and there were about 6 of us singing, and each time we did it, a different person would mess it up, and then we'd have to do it again.
Yeah.
And so it was Super Speedy
You want us to say what? Yeah, and really fast.
Really fast.
Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000.
And you have to make it really clear, too. So you have to
Yeah, we get the I've worked with Monique's choir before. We get the advantage on this show too of like, okay, now let's have 6 soloists and a choir and an orchestra and a rock band in one song, and like at the gala. So it's there really sky's the limit, which is pretty special. I think we can appreciate Hasbro for really giving a lot of resources to write these songs, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the basic process. I don't know if do you want to sort of open it to questions now, or do you want to ask anything else?
Sure. How do you do the questions? Do you have people come up and use a microphone, or do you yell them out from the audience? How do you do it? What's the process?
Why don't we do like a lineup down the aisle here?
That's a good
idea. And then there's a mic there. If that mic is active.
Well, maybe the lineup should be over there so it doesn't block the view of all these people. Like, could they go up there? Oh, no, this works. Okay, this is fine. All right, so...
there's a microphone on each side, so we can
we can alternate back and forth. So if you have a question about the music process, please come forward.
Come on down. How many people... Now, nobody here was at San Diego Comic-Con this year, I imagine. Did anyone watch the footage from the San Diego Comic-Con this year? You just, you don't like spoilers? Some people don't like spoilers. That's true.
So, and I'm sure you know that we can't answer, Daniel can't talk about anything that hasn't been aired yet. So that would be one rule.
Yeah, I can only make, like, physical gestures to suggest what the answer might be.
And you can't record them.
Yeah. There's just be a lot of winking going on.
Okay, we'll start on this side here.
All right. Hello?
Hey.
Hi.
So, do you make more music because the fans ask you to, or do you make it more because you feel inspired to do it?
That's an interesting question. Let me see how I want to interpret that. Like, I think as a songwriter, if you get too worried about, well, what will people think of this song, then it actually works against you. And you start to question everything you're doing because you're imagining some kind of audience responding to something you're doing as you're doing it. So I actually try to forget that there's this great, giant, incredible fandom who's like way more talented than I am out there writing music, and just like focus on what I feel is inspiring, and hope when it comes out that people will respond to it. If that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to this side now.
Hello, I have a question for Daniel, if I may. As far as I know, you studied music like academically at the university. And you've also often said that when people want to create music, like write songs, that is exactly what they should do. They should create. I've been told before that, at least in Germany nowadays, that when you want to study music at university, you only do it because you want to teach music, but not because you want to create music. If you want to create music, you should just do it. With that being said, why did you back then decide for yourself, not in general, but for yourself, I should study music? Would you do it again? And what did you take out of it?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I played music throughout high school and just jamming in bands and stuff like that, and teaching myself with my friends. And then when I went into university, I was actually admitted as an English major. And
So do I.
ah, cool, there you go. Well, you have very good English. And then about 6 months in, I was like really spending all my time writing music for myself. And then I discovered, oh, you can take music at university. And so I applied the next year, and I showed them my compositions. And honestly, it was like, well, I'd rather be doing what I love. And I think the thing about music is the more you know, the better, no matter what, because it can't hurt to be exposed. And so while I was studying music at university, I was doing, you want to do your own thing, find your own voice. But being exposed to, great composers and the history of 20th century music and everything, like theater, the thing about doing a university degree is an arts degree is you're not just getting exposed to music, you're studying theater, you're studying film, you're studying literature. All of those things filter in and inform who you are as an artist. So for me, university was a very invaluable experience, and to this day, I graduated 20 years ago. Still, when I'm writing songs, I'm using that information. So I think it can't hurt to have a theoretical basis, not just write.
As far as I know, 20 years ago, the internet wasn't very big, and back then when musicians wanted to come together, want to have this creative flow like you can have nowadays on the internet wasn't possible back then.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube has really changed the whole way music is disseminated and artists rise. I mean, I think that didn't exist. So if you were a songwriter, for example, and you wanted people to hear your stuff, you kind of just go to your local cafe and your friends would show up. Now you can have this fandom, like you can have fans from around the world listening to your music and be at home the whole time. So yeah, I mean, it's really changed the music industry, and I think for the better. A lot of great artists are getting discovered, and it gives you everybody an equal shot at really having their music heard around the world. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, that didn't exist in my day.
And that's actually really important too, regardless of whether you do training through university or gain your experience elsewhere, but staying relevant to the times and being aware that it does evolve and change is really important, because we do know people who are extremely talented at what they do who are having difficulty finding work now because they didn't, stick with learning the new software or learning the way things are done now. So regardless of how you start, it's really important to stay on top of how the industry is evolving and changing.
I think so, but I also would say the most valuable asset is to find your own voice.
I agree.
And so,
yeah.
it's you can emulate and copy away, but if you find something that, but really there's a great deal of value in a very personal expression and looking to find out what that might be.
Thank you.
Hello. My question is, have you ever voiced in a song of a show of yours?
Yeah. I mean, I sang a little. I think I voiced some of the characters in Rarity's Generosity song. I think it's like, why, thank you. I think I said that one. Wow, that's something like that. I can't remember. And then, that doesn't deserve applause. That really doesn't deserve applause. In the Weird Al episode, Pinky Pride, you can hear me going, Geronimo! Yeah. Sometimes they keep it, but I don't really do much voice acting.
Okay, hello. First of all, thanks for you two being here, of course.
Thank you.
I have a very specific question. Let's talk Rainbow Rocks.
Sure, Rainbow Rocks.
And in the Bronies React to Rainbow Rocks, Black Griffin actually asks you a question.
Oh, I saw that video.
I want to know if you wrote Derpy's expressive music as well.
Oh, no.
Who came up with the expressive music in Derpy's?
Yeah, Derpy played like the saw, and like, was it a theremin or was it just a saw? Yeah.
Saw and the cowbell.
Saw and a cowbell, yeah. No, that was that, if it doesn't qualify as like a song, like singing, with like a real melody, then no, I didn't do that. So that would have been Will Anderson, and I think that's Megan McCarthy's idea, was that we got to have her play, or maybe Jason Thiessen thought, like, we need to have Derpy play a saw. It was hilarious, of course.
Okay, then I will ask Jason Thiessen then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Is this working?
Yeah. Lean in a bit, but it's
Just,
working.
They're a bit low. Just lean into it a bit.
Like this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. I just wanted to ask both of you, what is your favorite song on MLP so far?
I don't know. Do you have a favorite?
Well, one of my favorites is "Hush Now, Quiet Now," because that was that was the first song that Michelle
Michelle
recorded,
sang, of course, yeah.
And it was just so cool how you did that Aretha Franklin thing with
Yeah,
it.
and she rips that.
She was this tiny little 40-pound, 10-year-old kid that got to sing this great song, and we had no idea at the time that that there would be a fandom and that so many people would hear it. But it was the first, I came across it on YouTube before I even knew about the fandom, I think about a year and a half later, and realized that this was a video that Michelle was on, and saw it had 500,000 views and went, what? So, but I really like that song. I just love how it starts off so sweet with Andrea and then rips,
Yeah, those are the early days. The songs are much shorter in those early seasons. Like they're sort of small little ditties almost.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that song, if they did it, would be like twice as long and 5 characters. Yeah, my favorite song, I mean, I feel really good about stuff that's coming up that you haven't heard yet. I mean, one of the things...
Ooh, this is where the winking comes in. Yeah.
One of the things I like writing like kind of sappy songs. Like I like writing sentimental, emotional songs. And I don't know what happened, but suddenly in the back half of season 5 and into season 6, they started just throwing these songs all over the episodes, and that's really my favorite thing to do. So yeah, there's a few coming up this year that are my favorites. But looking back on the seasons, I feel like most songs that I write them pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie, there's not a lot of time. And so
you don't have a choice.
I don't have a choice. Like, I have to write, sometimes, like I say, two or three songs a week. But so there's a lot of songs where I'd want to change something. Like I feel like, I would have changed that. I would have changed that. One of the only songs where I feel like, okay, that came out just perfect was the Smile song.
That's actually the other favorite one that I was going to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to further what he said about the emotional things, there is one coming up that I think I told you already, it made me cry.
She cried, yeah.
I cried. I did.
Well, Monique
it
was...
gave me goosebumps when I first heard it, and then it made me cry when
Well, Monique was there when you were the first person to hear that song after I wrote it, so that was unique too. So
really, it's a beautiful song. I can't wait for you guys to all hear it.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, there are different genres of music like pop, rock, and area. Which one is the hardest to make?
Yeah, what genre is the hardest? I don't know. Big band is hard. Big band for me is kind of hard. Yeah,
Like in Rainbow Rocks, for example.
and we didn't do any big band in Rainbow Rocks. Like big band, like Count Basie or something. Like big, like jazz orchestra. But I guess within the show, I don't know. I love all genres. So to write, like for Rainbow Rocks, when they say, okay, we're gonna, we need, like a punk rock song for Rainbow Dash. Like I love that. I get excited because it's like, cool, we haven't done a punk rock song before. I love writing Broadway. I love musical theater. I love the traditional big orchestral numbers. I really like acoustic numbers, like some little softer acoustic guitar sort of stuff. So, I mean, I think at this point in my career, I've done over 200 songs for Hasbro, if you can believe it. 200 songs between this show and Littlest Pet Shop and other shows. And in almost every conceivable style. I can't even imagine what I haven't tried to do. So that's part of the fun of the job is like, okay, cool, we're going to now do a polka,
metal.
a death metal. Yeah, sure. And it's like, let's do it, make it cool. Yeah. It's coming. Thank you.
Hi. I would like to know how much of the music that appears in the final songs are actually played by instruments and what is just synthesized by computers.
Just synthesized. No, I know what you mean. Anything that's plucked is live. So guitars, mandolin, classical guitar, bass, that's all played in my studio. Anything like drums, we don't have the facility to have live drums, so that's synthesized. And right now, orchestra is synthesized. But good news, exciting news, is with the big My Little Pony feature film that's due out in 2017, I get a live orchestra.
Wow.
So. Yeah. Yes, orchestra. Yeah. So that's going to be an absolute blast and a big first and big orchestra, big choir, And the other thing is I was listening back and I'm thinking, you know what, Hasbro isn't aware of this yet, but I want to, if that goes really well, I want to talk to them about re-releasing some of the earlier songs re-recorded with live orchestra.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
I'm going to push for that too. Good question, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is a question for you both. Since you are in the music industry, I always wondered what is much more challenging, to find a melody or to write the lyrics?
Do you want to start?
I could. You know, I personally find that it depends on the song. You know, some songwriters always have the same method for every song, and they'll do lyrics first and then melody, or vice versa. But sometimes, for me, it depends on the song. I mix it up, and sometimes I'll be inspired with. Sometimes I'm inspired with chords, sometimes I'm inspired with a melody, and sometimes I'm inspired with lyrics. And that it changes depending on the situation.
Yeah, if I have to start from scratch, I usually will sort of think about the feeling, you know, of the song and play around on the piano a bit or guitar or whatever, get that feeling. And then I usually write lyrics and melodies like together. So like I'll have an idea for some lyrics, and then I'll sing them. And if it's like, oh, that's kind of a nice tune, and then it kind of organically grows from there. And then usually the lyrics are being written as the melody is and the structure of the song. It's like a through composed process. But I would find it's a lot more challenging for me to have to write lyrics and melody than it is when some really good lyrics come in, and I just have to go, okay, these lyrics are totally inspiring me, and I just have to, you know, play with them. That's easier. When I have to write all the lyrics, that becomes like 10 times harder.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question for both of you. With what music did you grow up? What's your favorite bands, and which concerts did you go?
Cool. I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock, like Led Zeppelin, Beatles. You know, Jimi Hendrix was a huge influence for me. I mean, I think I took up the guitar because of Jimi Hendrix. So that was very influential for me in my formative teen years. And we used to just learn every single Led Zeppelin song that had ever been made. So, and I just heard that they re-released a bunch of Led Zeppelin songs, and it's like outselling like everything right now, like even new pop bands. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, that's my thing. I like a lot of classic rock soundtrack bands.
And for me, yeah, Led Zeppelin and some of those classics as well. And we had a lot of variety of music in our house. And we actually lived in Germany for a year when I was 3 years old. And when we came back to Canada, we had this big Grundig console stereo thing with, you put albums on. And so I would stack a whole bunch of albums, and I had a very eclectic taste. So I would have the Carpenters, and then I would have Kiss, and then I would have Simon and Garfunkel, and then Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and then Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Like, it was just a big variety of music. So, but vocally, I really loved the Carpenters and Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
All right, just maybe before my question, I just want to ask, did you hear Moonrise from L Train?
No.
Yeah, it's a metal orchestral opera.
Oh, cool.
For half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Moonrise.
maybe you can,
I'll check
can
it
get
out.
Inspired about
Yeah.
Celestial Luna. But my actual question, I really admire your work ethic. I heard that you're able to pop up a song a day. I mean, I usually can't even translate one of your songs in a day. And maybe a big part of it is that there is really no one else who could do it, right? And so I was just wondering how many other songwriters like you are there, and how do you keep up with the pressure?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many in Vancouver. Okay, I think I how to answer that question. In Vancouver, we do a lot of animation now. And my mentor, who had done hundreds of episodes of cartoons, who I was working with, when the song came along, it was no one ever like really paid a lot of attention. He'd just do like a little song, and it was kind of fun. And then when My Little Pony came around, they said the same thing. They're like, look, we're just gonna have only Pinkie Pie sing, and she's only gonna sing little ditties, like just fun little numbers. And the first song in the series that was written was Pinkie's laughter song, the No Fear song. And Lauren Faust wrote those lyrics. And in fact, that was the song I wrote to get the job. And it was over the course of that first season that I said, why don't we push these limits? I guess usually in Vancouver, the composer would also be the songwriter, and they're so busy doing the background music that they just don't put a lot of time into the songs. On this series, suddenly they were like, well, let's split it and have Daniel do the music, the songs, and Will Anderson do the music. And so I had to kind of prove myself to Will that I was like, hey, we'll see who, we both have to step up our game. So he was focusing on that, I focused on this. So as a result, this show, we started to write these really big songs and the choir and orchestra and all this stuff that just didn't exist in the shows that I was ever doing before. So I don't really feel pressure because I feel like I'm just doing my own thing. And before this show came along at DHX, really there wasn't a lot of attention paid to songs. So anything that was above a certain level was considered unique and kind of cool. So it's my own pressure is just how to make something better than what I just already did. And not suddenly have everyone go, oh, Daniel's really lost it, and that's my only. So I just challenge myself, I guess.
Right, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, hi. My question would be for both of you. Which song are you most proud of making and working on in a show?
Proud of?
Sorry, what was that? Which song are we most proud of?
Yeah.
In
Pony?
In my okay. You want to go?
Well, I mentioned the Smile song. I'm also really, proud of the fact that This Day Aria has 50 million views on YouTube. Let me put my... That's right. 50 million. Damn. Yeah, I'm proud of that fact. That's really, I never would have imagined that kind of attention, so that's pretty exciting.
For me, it would be at the gala, I guess, because it was the first one that I was involved with, and it was my choir that did all the background vocals on it. So it was a lot of fun to teach them the parts, and then we got to go into a nice big studio, Brian Adams' studio in Vancouver, and the session was really enjoyable. And just hearing the final product and seeing it in the show was special.
Yeah, there's a story behind At the Gala in this choir session. I'll just tell quickly because it was sort of funny. I said, look, for this song to really be good, we need a choir. And they're like, we don't have any money for a choir. And so one day we were just hanging out, and I was complaining to Monique, ugh, I need a choir on this song, and they have literally no budget. And she's like, listen, I have a amateur, not an amateur, but a professional choir that will volunteer to do this for fun. And now that's changed. Now we have a budget for choir. So if it hadn't have been for Monique and her choir on At the Gala.
And that we just happened to talk about it.
Yeah, and that we just happened to talk about it. That song never would have come out like that. And so I ended up writing the choir part specifically because Monique volunteered her choir to do it. And I think once Hasbro heard it, they're like, oh, okay, this is cool. We need more of this. And now we get a choir budget. Yay! Shoot.
Hello. From beginning, thank you for music from Wedding in Ponyville episode, 100 episode. It was really cool. And my question...
Can you just go a little closer to the mic just so we can hear you? Thank you.
Why in first part of season 5 we hear so less songs than in previous seasons?
I know. It was really weird in season 5. I think what happened was like season 5 started with like a lot of like boom, song, song, song. People were like, "Whoa, this show is gonna have like a song every episode now," because we did 3 songs back to back, and then there's the longest time ever with no songs. And I think what was happening was at the time I was working on Rainbow Rocks, and there's 12 songs in Rainbow Rocks, and a bunch of other things, and they were switching writers up. Like they were just like the whole writing team was shifting in season 5, and it just fell through the cracks. And then suddenly they're on like late into the season, going, "Oh, wait a second, we forgot to put any songs in season 5." And meanwhile, I'm like, "Yeah." So, anyways, they're coming. They're coming. The next half is the majority of the songs. There's just as many songs in season 5 as season 4. They're just all at the end.
Hello.
Hey.
So my question is, how do you feel about people making covers of your songs and playing them at cons, singing along? Do you enjoy it? Are you here like, no, you're playing wrong, this is one God?
I'm like, no, it's not. Doesn't go like that. No, I love it. I mean, it is such a unique pleasure to be able to write a song on a kids television show, which usually you would have no feedback whatsoever from. You just goes out there and that's the end of it. And be able to go onto YouTube like a week later. I remember when Babseed came out, I was like, I wonder if anyone's covered Babseed. And I searched Babseed. I was like, this is like 1,000 hits. And there's so many covers and so much great stuff. And people do so many incredibly creative things. I think it's just a testament to this fandom, how much, like I say this as genuinely as possible, how much I'm awe-inspired by how much talent comes out of this fandom, between the fan art and the music and the stories, you know, the fan fiction. And so no, for me that's a huge pleasure. And every single time a song is released, you know, within a week I'll start searching and listening to covers and leaving comments and like, yeah, thanks, that's great. So
You actually leave comments on your own songs?
I do, yeah. If someone covers it and it's good, I'll leave a comment, sure.
Yeah,
if it's bad, I might not say anything, but.
I'm gonna find your YouTube account.
Sorry, what?
I'm gonna find your YouTube account.
Yeah, it's called Conifer1. It's very buried, but I like to do that too. I leave comments and no one knows it's me leaving comments.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
I don't really have a question. What I would like to do is to thank you for your work and for what you have done. You are a huge inspiration to me, and it means a lot that I can tell you this.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Miloš.
Miloš?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Miloš. Appreciate it. Are you playing music yourself now?
I'm starting to learn how to play music.
All right, good.
It's because of the My Little Pony.
Well, thank you. Keep it up.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
This question is mostly directed to Daniel, but a bit to you.
That's
who? Right. So, aside from the tweeted video in which you kind of collaborated with Gabe and Michelle, which other Brony musicians have you collaborated with, or would you like to collaborate with in the future?
They're pretty strict about trying to keep that separate. Gabe did sing on a special mashup that was released. I don't know if any of you bought the last My Little Pony soundtrack, but I did a mashup for Winter Wrap Up and True True Friend. And Gabe, we brought him in, and he did a beautiful solo on that song. But for the most part, yeah, they really want to keep let the fans have their own thing and not have it overlap with the show too much, I guess.
I think he was asking if, were you asking if Daniel had collaborated with other people? Oh, I mean,
Either or.
okay.
Either or.
Andy Stein, you know Mando Pony?
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't done anything on Pony, but I did bring him in on Littlest Pet Shop, and he sang on that, did a great job.
And Black Griffin did that too, right?
Yeah, that's why I say
Yeah.
Gabe, Black Griffin, yeah.
And you, Monique, have you collaborated with anyone apart from your daughter and Gabe?
We've collaborated with quite a few people, actually. Of course, our ongoing collaboration with Black Griffin. There's a really popular remix on Michelle's Timeless album that the Living Tombstone did of Saturday Night Remix. There's a remix also on our Christmas album that the Living Tombstone did with a rap from Mike the Microphone, and then we did some things with Mando Pony, and I feel like there were others, but those are the main ones, and the majority of our work is with Black Griffin.
Just one final question. This one's to Daniel. Why is there a hiatus of season 5?
I think they're making room for the Equestria Girls 3 movie that's coming out, Friendship Games.
Yeah. So it wasn't originally planned to have a hiatus in season 5.
I don't even know who makes those decisions. It's not me. If it was up to me, it would be Pony 24/7.
That's more like it.
All
Thank
ponies,
you.
all the time.
Hello. First of all, thank you for making such great music for the show. It's like above quality of everything else. It's
Thank you.
surprisingly good.
Cool, surprisingly.
Also, could you elaborate on the process of what you're allowed to do and not allowed to produce? What Hasbro says, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, one time, like generally it's like, it has to sound like the show. It has to sound like it makes sense in context of the show, unless it's a special project. So when we did like Music to My Ears, it was like, okay, let's do a dubstep thing. Like that's really unique it would never happen in My Little Pony series, but we can do it in Equestria Girls, right? So the main rule is just like, if they hear something and it sounds like it doesn't really fit with the series, then I might get some feedback about that. So the original Babseed song was a much more rocky song, and it's the same song. It was just produced with like heavy guitars, and they're
I
like,
like that heavy.
You like the heavy
I
version?
like the heavy line, yeah.
So no, this you can't swear. You can't use any curse words. That's big. It's a big rule. You can't. Obviously, no. Really, it's kind of obvious stuff. I get a lot of freedoms. I just even recently I've been doing a couple of things that involve like live brass, and I said, hey, can we get a budget and do like a live brass session? And we're doing that in some stuff that's coming up. So, little by little, we'll be able to do more and more and more cool things on the show. And like I said, choir we used to not have, now we can do choir. With Rainbow Dash this year, we had All Fly, her solo song, come out. And has anyone heard that song yet? I don't know. And I'll fly until the end of the sky. And that song it was like rock guitar, and I'd never been able to do that before. So, yeah, mostly I get a lot of freedom. They're pretty good about that. Yeah.
Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I think we're over here.
Yeah, all right. First of all, of course, thanks for all your great work you put into the show. We really love you for that, I think. I don't have a question, but rather a little request on behalf of the My Little Karaoke team. Maybe you've heard of it.
I have the My Little Karaoke in my studio.
You do?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the team, actually. And,
cool. Congratulations.
On our request was just both of you, of course, if you'd like to come by at the room downstairs and just check it out.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun.
I'm there.
Are you there all day?
Yeah, we'll be there all day tomorrow too.
Tomorrow, okay. We will definitely try to.
Today.
My Little Karaoke has anyone here tried it yet? It's pretty amazing. All right.
Yeah, you have to. You just come downstairs and try it out. I'll be happy to see you all.
Yeah, let's pitch it. We'll plug it. We'll plug My Little Karaoke because it is super cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for your good work, and I would like to ask how you first discovered about Brony Fandom, and what were your first thoughts about it?
Okay, well, that's a good question about everybody discovers everyone on the show has a story about how they discovered the Brony fandom. Mine, unfortunately, was while I was getting in trouble. Because, you know, and honestly, like on most cartoons, you write music, and like again, nobody really pays much attention to it. And so I had written Winter Wrap Up and produced Winter Wrap Up. That was a long, long process to get that song done. And I felt really proud of it. And so I posted it online on my YouTube page just to sort of send to like a friend of mine, like, hey, check out this thing I did on this show, thinking nobody would see it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, why is there like thousands of views on this? And then I get this like angry call from my bosses going, you need to take that down right now. That hasn't even aired yet. So, yeah. So I got it, and I'm like, well, who's even paying attention? What do you mean, who cares? And they're like, no, there are fans on this show, like a lot of fans. And sure enough, I looked, and within like a day, there was like 20 covers and a whole bunch of questions about it, and I'm like, oh, I understand. So that's how I was introduced. By leaking my own song on the internet.
For me, I actually already spoke about it a little bit, but I had heard, I think one of the producers mentioned it at one of Michelle's sessions, that there was a growing fandom, and there was an article in a magazine that I looked into, but coming across, it was completely accidental when I came across that Hush Now, Quiet Now video on YouTube, and then realized that it was Michelle on it, and I started reading, as I said, it had 500,000 views, which shocked me at the time, and I started reading all the comments, and as I went through hundreds of comments, I just suddenly thought, who is writing these comments? Because they're too sophisticated to be written by children. But they were generally very kind and supportive, but they were just too sophisticated. And so that I remember bringing my husband over to my computer and saying, look at this, like, what is this? And so that's where it started, and that inspired me to start looking into it a lot more, and I started going online and researching everything that I could, especially also because, you know, being the parent of the youngest cast member, and I think, you know, at the time she started on the show, she was only 10, and just trying to understand, you know, what the fandom was, and then she started getting all the invitations to conventions, so then I did a lot more research before we decided if we would give that a try, and it was fantastic, and so I think this is our 24th convention now, so so
24.
Ultimately, we found it to be a very positive experience, and we've just enjoyed meeting fans all over the world, and you know, I've just seen so much good coming from the community that it's been very positive.
Yeah, everyone agrees on that. I think it's
What's
really
that?
everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
It's been great. Cool, great cosplay. Look at that.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what was it like to work with Weird Al?
Oh, what was it like to work with Weird Al? That was kind of a dream come true. I grew up listening to Weird Al when I was a kid, so that was, you know, obviously for Jason and I, we're about the same age, Jason Thiessen. We both were like, is this for real? Like, Jason reached out to him and he responded. And so I had to listen. He wasn't going to write anything on the show, but he was going to voice act, basically. And so the strategy was I had to write all these songs and, again, sing them like in my best Weird Al voice and then send them to Weird Al.
No pressure.
Yeah, and on top of that, you know, he's made a name for himself parodying other artists, and here I was parodying him, you know, like writing polkas in the Weird Al style, you know, parodying
That's hard to
my
say.
God. Songs from the show, like I did a little Smile song, Weird Al ripoff in there, right? So it was like so many levels of, it was like almost giving me a headache. And then he emailed me back, and he was like, wow, these are great, thank you. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe I have Weird Al's email now. This is cool. Yeah, so that was really great. I've been harassing him ever since. I think he blocked me, actually. I don't think he's stopped responding to my emails, but I send him one a day. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, just another quick question. Apart from Gabe, because that's a bit biased, is there any Brony musician you're particularly fond of? Both of you.
You know, like I have to, okay, so they say to the writers can't read fan fiction. So, because they don't want to influence them. And then similarly, I can listen to covers, but I can't listen to original fan music, unfortunately. So, I'm looking forward to when the show is canceled, like, well, I'm not looking forward to that. Wait a sec, let me finish that sentence. When the silver lining around the show eventually, one day, ending is I actually get to go back and finally listen to all these incredible original songs that were written. It will never end. It might never end. I mean, really.
Like any covers or anything like that? Any covers or anything like that?
I mean, it's really like, you know, I guess the early days of the fandom, those like the big names like Tombstone and you know, I don't think Andy, like Mando, does covers anymore, but he used to do great covers, and you know, Gabe did great covers. So lately, I don't, you know, people need to, I guess I don't really remember any names specifically. I just sort of, there's a couple of girls who do these incredible things, and I recognize them when they send me things, but I don't remember off the top of my head now what their names are. But I usually write them back personally, like if they tweet to me and I say, hey, that was incredible, thanks. So the best way to send me stuff is on Twitter and say, hey, check out my cover of your song. Like, I'll always listen to it. I always spend a lot of time on Twitter just listening to things. So, and I'll tweet back and I'll favorite it or whatever.
I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Well, which part of the question was?
Well, we're just talking about like favorite fan artists, I guess.
Yeah. I don't have the same restrictions in that I can go and check out a lot of things. I have listened to, I don't read any fan fiction, but I have listened to a lot of the music, and a lot of people send me music. So much so that I actually have a hard time staying on top of it. But there are a lot of really talented artists in the community, and you know, that if it weren't for that, we probably, you know, when we met Black Griffin, he was living in Japan and we were in Vancouver. If it wasn't for the fandom, the chances of our paths crossing were probably very slim. So, you know, it has been good, and of course, with the internet and all of that, we were able to produce music across the world like that together without ever being in the same room or studio. And so it's been fabulous in that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're running almost out of time. I think we only have time for like.
We've got a couple more questions.
Let's just do
Very
let's do
insistent
these
that I
last
only ask
four.
one question at this point.
Okay.
Okay, it's really been evident that you guys have a lot more resources at your disposal for the songs that you're doing now. It's really progressed, and it's really beautiful what you're doing now. And you mentioned that you might be able to redo some of the previous songs that you've done with the new resources. I hope that happens. And what songs would you most look forward to being able to completely redo with
Sure.
choir and band and whatever?
Well, if I was to re-record any songs, I wouldn't change the vocals at all. I would just try to replace the MIDI orchestra on songs like At the Gala, on songs like, well, like on Smile Song, any of the big songs, Find a Pet, you know, or May the Best Pet Win, whatever. You know, those early season 1 and 2 and 3 songs that use orchestra that I just feel like the technology wasn't quite there. The MIDI is a little less slick than it is today, and it would really benefit from orchestra. So I think we would, and you know, when to wrap up, we'd take like those early songs that seem to now be kind of classics in the show and do those. That would be my hope. Now again, this is something that I've yet to get the executives to approve, but I'm just hoping to keep, you know, when the feature comes out, maybe there'll be an opportunity for doing that.
Tell the executives that the fans want it.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll
pass that message along.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
I know.
It is.
It is. You're just
You can
a
pick it
foot
up.
taller than the microphone.
Since my question is really short, I love the song with Rainbow Dash and Tank.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll fly. Yeah,
Yeah. I cried many manly tears to that.
Thank you. I love that song too. Thank you.
My question is, 1 year ago approximately, I was at Crystal Fair and I saw you play on stage.
I don't like to do that.
That was pretty much the best memory I have of that weekend. So my question is, did you bring your guitar?
I didn't this trip.
Can someone please lend the man a guitar?
I know, right? Yeah, no, that's right. We did, with Annalie Heed, I performed Twilight's song, what's that song called now? I'm blanking. With the three princesses. Yeah, you'll play your part. Thank you. Yeah, I did play. So for me to learn to play my part on that, I actually had to practice quite a lot. It's a tricky song. I realized because I read it on piano and I had to learn it on guitar. No, we kind of planned that out quite well in advance, and we hadn't yet planned yet for this con. But who knows what can happen? Spontaneous music has been known to happen. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Beautiful cosplay.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Mhm.
So first, thank you for your great work. And I just want to know, is there any special character that you like most to write your songs for? Or is there any character that you find it hard to write songs for?
That would be a question for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to pass the buck here over to Monique. Come on, answer it.
He was looking at me to see if I was going to slip him some money to say Apple Bloom.
Yeah. Huh? You want me to? All right. Apple Bloom is my favorite character to write for. The amazing thing is that the cast on this show is so talented, and the voice actors, the voice doubles we have are so good, and we keep adding more. Like now, Big Mac was suddenly singing on Apples to the Core, and it keeps expanding. He actually did more than Yup on that. He actually sang in the harmonies and stuff. And so it keeps expanding. The exciting thing for me is when we write songs for characters that have never had solos before. And, sorry, what? Oh, I can't hear it, but I know. Discord. Yeah, a Discord song for sure. That was a challenge. John, it's funny, I had dinner with John Delancey just a month ago when we were in Florida together, and his wife is a serious musical theater buff, and she's a professional singer, and he's not, and he was the first person to say, listen, I can't sing, so write me a really easy song, please. That's what he told me. And I'm just mean. I just wrote this really hard song for him to sing. And he nailed it. Yeah, I know. He said he practiced for weeks to do that. But anyways, there's some really cool solos coming up for people who've never sung on the series before, you're gonna love to hear. So it's really exciting. All right, I think that's the last question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming out.
Oh, I got to ask you to do something before you leave. Listen, my girlfriend lives in Hawaii. She's 12 hours away, and I would love to send a little video because she doesn't really understand the whole fandom. She's just never heard of My Little Pony before. So I want to say, could we all just say to her "Hi, Rena," and just scream really, really loud? So I'm gonna count. So you ready? I'm gonna count.
So it's going to be Hi, Rena.
Yeah, hi, Rena, and just wave and yell. Okay,
So,
here we go.
You going to say 1, 2, 3?
I'm going to 1, 2, 3 it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.